Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today patch 2.1 has of course released. I hope you guys are enjoying your time playing the game if you've had the time to get on already. Personally, I've just got home from work, so I'm going to play in a minute, but before I do that, I wanted to put out this video quickly here and give you guys a quick rundown of all the things DICE just mentioned in the Battlefield briefing for patch 2.1. So this was live streamed over on Twitch, as they have done for the past few patches, and they went over a good few interesting things for patch 2.1, but they also spoke a little bit on what future patches for the game are going to contain. So first of all here, they mentioned one of the things that I've been calling for a long time, and that is vehicle categories. I'm sure you guys know that the categories at the moment just don't really make any sense. The jets are woefully underused, they're woefully underpowered. Nobody is going to pick a jet over one of the overpowered helicopters. Same sort of thing for the armored category. You've got the EBLC RAM in there, and then it's combined with like a tank, and they're just completely different vehicles. So what they did say is that they've been internally testing splitting up the vehicles into 3 new categories, and these 3 categories are one for the jets, one that they called armored transport, and then another that they referred to as light armor. Now, they didn't tell us which vehicles were in which category, and they actually specifically asked if we would give them feedback on that. So if you guys have any suggestions of your own on, which vehicles you think should be in what category, then as always leave that down below, and I will try my best to forward it to the Battlefield community managers. But I would guess that light armor will contain vehicles like the EBLC RAM, the Bolty, or the Bolt, whatever you want to call that one, vehicles like that, whereas the armored transport category might be the MAV, the armored Wildcat, the tank, some of the more beefy armored vehicles, and then you're going to have another one for jets, and I'm sure they're going to have a 4th one for helicopters. I fully expect the Nightbird, the stealth helis, and the attack helis all to be within the same category, although it is debatable if they should split the Nightbird off into its own category. Now obviously this is quite a massive change to the game. It's not going to make things perfect. I still prefer the Battlefield 4 system where every vehicle essentially had its own category, or there were no categories. Each vehicle just had a number of spawns, and that was dependent on the map. I guess that's just too much work. They don't want to go that way, so this is the best they can do by the looks of it, but at least it's going to be an improvement. Now, next up on the subject of Stranded, the Season 2 map, they did talk a little bit about the balance on Breakthrough. So they said that the attacking side on Breakthrough was winning about 45% of matches, and the defending side was at about 55%. So defenders slightly favoured in Breakthrough. They did say that Sector 1 and the last sector were kind of problem sectors, so Sector 1 favoured defenders and the last sector favoured the attacking side. They also said that there were several hiding places that they were looking into, places up high where people were shooting down on the ground. They didn't exactly go into specifics, but in that first sector there, I definitely get sniped all the time by people on the top of the ship. I'm not really sure if you're supposed to be able to get that as a defender, but maybe that's what they were referring to. There's also some places up high inside the ship in Sector 2 that you can hide in as well. Now, on the subject of vault weapons, of course, we've gotten 3 new vault weapons with patch 2.1, and they decided to go with these 3, the M1911, the P90, and the Gold Magnum Sniper, because they're very popular picks. They are, known as popular weapons throughout the Battlefield franchise, some fan favourites there. And they did mention that there were going to be more vault weapons with every patch, so that's great. Going forward, patch 2.2, 2.3, etc. on the way up to Season 2, we are going to be getting more weapons there. Now, one of the guys in this Battlefield briefing was actually the weapon designer, and he was kind of grilled on the first 2 vault weapons that were released, the M16 and the M60, whether they actually landed where they hoped they would, and, he said they weren't really happy with how they were performing. He said the M16 is, okay, it can still hold its ground against assault rifles, which I agree with, but the M60 just has too low of a rate of fire, and the damage output overall is just way too low. It's not competitive against the other LMGs at all, especially not with the OP Avances out now. So he said going forward, releasing more iterations of Vault weapons, they are learning from the first couple that they released, and they're trying to make a better effort to actually bring them in line and make them competitive with the base weapons in the game. He also asked him about the attachment system, because of course when you get the Vault weapon, you've just already got all of the legacy, if you want to call them that, attachments unlocked for the gun. There is no progression system, there is no tier 1 skin or anything like that. He was asked why he decided to go with that, and basically he said the reason for this is that if they would add all of the 2042 base attachments, it would sort of take away from the nostalgic elements of the weapon, the way that people remembered it, and also some attachments already occupy the same spaces as the older attachments that the weapon comes with, so they would essentially be obsolete. However, I really do think in some situations they maybe need to pick and choose some of the 2042 attachments, like, you know, the M16 could really do with like a drum magazine. I mean, the M16 is not bad, but at the end of the day, it still only has a 30 round mag, and you know, if you compare it to these other weapons, SMGs and assault rifles that have drum magazines, I mean, it's just night and day, man. Who really wants 30 rounds when you can have 60? Now, he also touched on the advances. He did say it has been recognized this gun is way too strong, and it's going to be even stronger now because it actually has the correct headshot multiplayer, although it hasn't been balanced. So if you want to unlock that tier 1 skin for the advances, now is the time to do it, guys, because it ain't going to get any more powerful than this. So they mentioned that the design philosophy behind the advances was supposed to bridge the gap between an assault rifle and an LMG, but basically it just ended up feeling like an assault rifle with a 200 round magazine, hence why it's way too good. So there are some balance changes planned for that one. Patch 2.2 will almost certainly include those. So like I say, guys, if you want to use the weapon in its currently OP state, then enjoy yourselves. And overall for weapon balance, they basically said that the focus that they're looking at the moment is the encroachment of one category of weapons on another. So, you know, they want to make sure that an SMG feels like an SMG, an assault rifle feels like an assault rifle. Lately, we've seen a trend, like with the advances, kind of bridging that gap between assault rifle and LMG. And, you know, like with the BSVM, right, that kind of bridged the gap between an assault rifle and a DMR. A lot of these weapons end up just being too good and essentially fulfilling the roles of both categories at the same time. Anywho, that was about it for this one. Like I said before, guys, if you have some feedback on how you think the vehicles should be split between different categories, let me know down below, because I really do think this is one of the biggest flaws for me in Battlefield 2042 currently. There are just way too few vehicles because of the fact that they're all grouped together in these categories, and obviously if you increase the amount of vehicles, you could potentially have, you know, 4 stealth helicopters on one team. That would just be way too ridiculous. So I think by splitting up these categories, you're going to be able to have more vehicles overall without things getting too crazy. Thank you for watching the video, boys. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.